Hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. My name is PurpleFireCrow and Antoine Hunter. I'm here in Oakland, California, the land of the Ohlone people and home of the Black Panther. Today, Thursday, June 24th, 2021. I'm excited. Well, before I start, I'll provide my visual description. I have milk chocolate skin. Got it from my mama. Beautiful woman. Ebony locks. They're almost 3 feet long. 1, 2, I'm getting close to 3 feet. I have a red backdrop. I have a gray t-shirt on. I have on the t-shirt is yellow print. It says Deaf, hashtag Deaf Woke. I'm really excited for today. I know it's been a while. But we're here. You know, people have been, reaching out to me, wondering, come on, Antoine, Deaf Woke is really important. When was the next episode? So forgive me. We've been preparing for the Bay Area International Deaf Dance Festival, which will be presented the second week of August. So I've been dedicating my time to that. But I have not forgotten about Deaf Woke. Yes, I agree. This show is profound. You know, when COVID hit, I just got a plethora of questions, and I didn't have all the answers. So I felt we needed to bring that representation. Bring the craft of people, leaders, community. They have the answers. So I elected to bring them and develop this show, Deaf Woke. There's been so much travesty happening with people. So in honor of all of that, I wanted to put this platform together to connect with the people. So before we start, I want to go ahead and introduce our beautiful, wonderful interpreters. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Interpreter Jay. Hi, Kaylee. How are y'all doing? Kaylee says, I'm good. Thank you for asking. So thank you for your service for today, supporting the deaf community. Those interpreters are beautiful, right? Today we have a special guest. I'm thrilled. I've known her for a long time. So I'm gonna give a little background story. Her name is Dorothea Tolliver. She's a native of San Francisco who has a strong background in advocating for individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. As an individual who is hard of hearing, Dorthea understands the importance of accessible workplace, especially when it relates to communication. Ms. Tolliver has been in several roles supporting individuals with disabilities in the vocational preparation setting. In New Orleans, she's coordinated programs for the Lighthouse, for the Blind Pathways to Success work readiness training program. She has also led Career Steps programs at the Hearing and Speech Center for 6 years in San Francisco, supporting individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing with individualized job preparation, job development, and job retention support. She also does fun translating gospels to R&B songs on YouTube, does ASL tutoring and private resume writing services. Ms. Tolliver is just completed her master's in human resources management at the Golden Gate University in August 2020. Whew. With her degree in HR, resource management, she wants to continue to give a voice to individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing through supporting them through their job. She also wants to serve as a bridge between hearing and deaf world. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dorthea!
Hey! Hey, everyone! I am happy to be here. Hello, hello. Oh, I'm so thrilled.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
longtime friend and brother.
How have you been? How you been?
I've been good. Life is good. I can't complain.
If you don't mind, if you can give a little visual description, where you are, the land acknowledgement. If you could do that for us, please.
Sure. Well, as you already said, my name is Dorothea Tolliver. I have a white background, just a wall behind me with a plant, beautiful plant. Very vibrant green right here. I'm sitting in a black chair, kind of to the side. I have an orange shirt on with golden hoops. And I've got some brown skin, not chocolate like you, Antoine, but some brown skin and some natural curls. Got myself a little afro going. And a little bit of brown lipstick, like a little gloss, a little bit of some shadow. That's it.
I've already seen a whole lot of people are sending you love tonight.
Oh, I send it right back. Send back love. I also want to shout out my uncle. Happy birthday to my uncle.
What's up, uncle? For many years, you've always been an advocate for deaf and hard of hearing in different ways. I understand what it's like having no support, lack of communication. Do you mind giving us, a little explanation of where you grew up? Where were you born?
Sure, yeah. Well, Antoine, I was born in San Francisco, hometown, baby, I'm proud. And I grew up in the district of Vision Valley, right near the old baseball stadium, the one that was torn down. I grew up there for many years of my childhood until I was about 18, about 18 years, give or take. And I was raised in a building called Geneva Towers. Really like old buildings, a part of the projects. And so I grew up in that neighborhood. It had several floors. It was one of those apartment complexes. But it was so old and decrepit. It got torn down, I think when was it torn down? I think 2000 maybe? Late 90s, 2000. Anyway, it's no longer there. It's a ghost space now. And so that's really where I was born and raised.
Did you grow up hearing family, deaf family?
Hearing family, all hearing. I was the only one that's hard of hearing. That's how I identify, hard of hearing. And I grew up using speech. And when my parents found out that I lost my hearing, they put me in the hearing center because they didn't know what to do with me. And so that's how I started to learn, how to lip read, how to speak orally. That was about around elementary school. And then I met my first deaf person, and I was just so taken aback by that. I had a teacher whose name was John. Their last name was Stubbins. And he was the one that, taught me that ASL was important. He has instilled that in me, to have that pride and to start developing my language. And so that's really when I started that development, because prior to that, I had only used, lip reading and oral. And so then after that, I started to pick up sign language.
So yeah, so you mentioned that you recall being kind of floored meeting the deaf community. Before you had no exposure to the deaf community, and so is it critical that you're involved, kind of immersed into the deaf community?
Well, I had no exposure when I was young. All I knew was lip reading and using my voice to speak orally. But when I was placed in that school, I looked around and I'm like, why am I here with these other deaf students? I didn't feel a sense of belonging. But my grandparents, they were the ones that wanted me to go to the school. And so it took some time. They had to explain, the importance of identity and who you are. And that's when I started to kind of open up a bit and realize, oh, okay, deaf world, hard of hearing, there's two different worlds going on, and I'm straddling in the middle. And I felt like I was being pulled in two different directions. One to, not use ASL and speak with my voice, and then the other to be in the deaf community and using ASL. And I felt that way, that kind of dissonance for a while. Did you
hit a kind of code switch, one community to the other community?
Exactly. Yep. Constant switching. It's like, oh, switch your brain, switch my brain. What am I doing now?
Yeah, I remember growing up and people labeling us hearing impaired. What do you think about that label? Do you prefer hard of hearing, or do you agree with hearing impaired?
I do find it a little bit offensive. You know, because it makes us feel like we're, you know, that old-fashioned kind of disabled, that negative connotation. But if you say, oh, I'm hard of hearing, you know, that's much more clear. You know, to use that term, it's kind of similar to that era of deaf and dumb, how people used to say that. And that is absolutely not appropriate, you know, that label deaf and dumb. And I kind of find that the term hearing impaired is very similar in that sense. People look at me and, you know, if the term hearing impaired is said, you know, it's like, oh, you know, and so I don't prescribe to that term. I prefer to say hard of hearing and leave it at that. I find that that's a more appropriate label, that fits me more in the, you know, in the world that I want to be in, but hearing impaired does not. But again, there is, you know, people who think that hearing impaired is, you know, acceptable to use in certain situations, you know. So people have different opinions, and that is mine.
Sure. You know, people, you know, they discuss the concept of little d versus capital big D, you know, the cultural. So kind of the small d is related to, you know, the illness, medical terminology. It doesn't represent the culture like big D.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there are a variety of different type of deaf people. Like you had mentioned, you know, old-fashioned way of labeling as deaf and dumb. Right, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and here in America, you know, it lowers. We don't use that word. That word in itself, the terminology lowers, you know, degrades us.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have hard of hearing, deaf, late deaf. What are some other appropriate terminologies?
Yeah, I mean, we also have the deaf blind community. So I think deaf blind. But, you know, I think it's best to ask that individual, ask what they prefer rather than just making a decision and assigning it to a whole community of people. You know, wait for their response and see what they prefer, how they identify, and then follow that, respect that, but let them take the lead on that. You know, I don't want to make assumptions and judge a person and, you know, prescribe a label.
Yeah, oh, congratulations. You got your master's.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank God, thank goodness. Thank you.
You know, some people get their degree, their bachelor's degree, and they're like done and done. But you know, you elected to proceed in and get a master's in HR. What made you do that?
Well, to make a long story short, I graduated with my bachelor's degree from Sutherland University. And I was so immersed in making it through that degree. And it wasn't until I went to the university, started learning the culture, and I accepted an internship in Louisiana at the School for the Deaf. And there I had many hours to fill that requirement. And so that's where I really started to hone in on my career, the employment. I identified, you know, some of those gaps that, you know, I didn't have in high school. I didn't, you know, learn how to make a resume and the interview process. You know, those were some gaps that I had. And so it was during that internship that I really began to volunteer to learn those skills to, you know, make up for that lack of knowledge that I didn't have prior. And so that's where I really started to develop myself, my career. I was hired at the Lighthouse for the Blind in New Orleans. And really that my being hired there stemmed from all that I learned at that internship. And so when I got that job in working with young adults on writing resumes, on many, many different skills and assets. And
yeah, that's incredible. There's a lot of hearing people that don't know how to appropriately complete out a resume. And so people get, they fall behind, and then they fall farther and farther behind. So, it's you giving that opportunity, educating people to write an appropriate resume, using sign language and patience. And that's beautiful. Yes, we need that type of advocacy.
Exactly, because I noticed that there's deficits out there, and I wanted to, help fill those. And so at the speech center, that's where I really started to realize that, it's a common problem. It's a common frustration that the deaf community experiences, is lack of communication, not having a proper resume, and trying to really work with the community, and as well as give them the tools to be able to explain why having an interpreter is important, and why companies need this thing called a VP, that video phone. Why do you need that? And how that can be a kind of an overwhelming process until you explain to that company why they need that video phone for access, and what that looks like, and how a TTY isn't in use anymore. It's been replaced with that video phone.
Yeah.
Right. So, the VP, that video phone, has become so popular. It's so quick and efficient to be able to just see an interpreter on the screen. For a deaf person to be using the TTY when sometimes English isn't their first language, that can really be a struggle of trying to decipher what that English means, because it's not their language. And so my going in there and really, being able to provide that knowledge really smooths out that communication process and limits the amount of misunderstandings that are happening. And so really that's what I've been doing with the deaf community right now, is trying to advocate. And well, I am trying to have people learn from my experiences, share what I have learned and bring it forward. I want to see other people succeed and thrive. I don't want, to see somebody saying, I can't, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, or I don't have this or that. No, that's not true. You can do it. And I don't want, the community to take a back seat. I want them to be in the forefront. I want them to jump, head in. And that's why I went forward with my master's degree. I wanted to challenge the hearing world, which I did. I took that head on. I didn't want to stay in a silo. I wanted to take a step back and see overall what are the problems and frustrations, and how do I help resolve that between the two worlds. And so going to a 4-year university, after those 4 years, I wanted to, go into that field, and seeing things like Amazon and, these other companies, people are gravitating towards those careers, towards those jobs at Amazon and these other companies, rather than going into a 4-year university, rather than earning a degree themselves. They're gravitating towards these, quick to get jobs. And I wanted to combat that.
Yeah, when I was a young teen, I was working at a park, helping set up the things, recreational things, setting up the basketball court. And it's something that, I thought I wanted to continue. But the issue is that, how was it going to provide customer service over the phone? And so they required me to answer. And, so they were obstructing my ability to have that job. At a restaurant, I could communicate on a pen and paper. But if one of your requirements and demands is me to answer a phone, it hinders my ability to, access to a dream job. For example, some restaurants, like a deaf restaurant, they have a video phone that helps support, talking with the customer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but a hearing restaurant doesn't offer like a video phone. So it's your role. I see what you're doing, educating. So for all the people who are unfamiliar with a TTY, it's an old device that has a phone line. It's a machine. It sounds like Morse code. It's a keyboard. And so when you type, the computer will kind of subtitle the language that's being used, and so it hinders our ability to be able to actually communicate through and fluidly through our language. I think you had already mentioned what's a common misconception that many hearing the status quo businesses that work with deaf consumers. What is a misconception that a hearing community believes that the deaf community can't do?
Well, from my experience, I've worked at one job for 6 years, another for about 4, almost, about 10 years. And in all of that time, what I've seen throughout the hiring process in these hearing companies is that, take, for example, Amazon, take, for example, FedEx, Walmart.
Why do you think that is?
Take all of those examples, and their perception is that, it's like an assembly line, so that they might hire deaf people, but they just hire them and bring them in, and you're on your own, trial by fire, instead of really working with the deaf community, engaging with them, really supporting them. So like FedEx in Oakland is expanding rapidly. I think now they're up to 30 deaf, hard of hearing employees, a little bit over 30, and they just hire, bring them on.
Here in Oakland, California? Yeah, near the airport?
Yep, near the airport, yeah. It's expanding, and so I think it's common that these companies will hire deaf employees and just, leave them be. Same as in project retail. Another example is working with the medical profession. They are just so focused on their work and not supporting the deaf consumer. And working with, programs such as Project Insight and other deaf organizations, like Project Insight. That's why it's so important to have those, because the deaf work with the deaf, right? And so that leads to success because that culture lines up, and so the deaf can really interact with their deaf consumers. And you can interact with deaf individuals who might be on, different playing fields, you know? And so you can really meet a person where they're at.
Oh, I get what you're trying to say. So some places don't provide that type of access. You know, a university may not offer this major. That may hinder the ability for providing that access. So that means it lowers the talents in the talent pool. I know often, you know, many people have changed their careers, changed their degree paths. So when you find that there's a barrier, it's just kind of easier to take something less. So I get what you're trying to say. You know, we want people to kind of really capture their dreams, get that dream job. You know, and that's what you're trying to do, is trying to elevate, you know, provide a service of elevating resumes and making people more you know, some people really still don't know how to actually effectively build a resume to make themselves more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was growing up, I didn't have a deaf role model to assist me in leading me to get my dreams. Did you have one?
I have so many names. I'd say one who had one of the greatest impacts on me was when I was in a program called Project Insight. I'm going to sign it as PI going forward. PI, Project Insight. It's a deaf program in San Francisco. So many deaf and hard of hearing people would go to events, would go on tours, would go in the valley, have different nights, like a dance night. I think we met at one of those, Antoine. That's where we met. So there was staff there, and, you know, I really, hats off to them, you know, real round of applause, because I really looked up to those staff members. They gave me exposure, you know, early on deaf culture, on so many different things. And, you know, they provided counseling. And so they were able to identify a problem or a need and then match that need. You know, they were able to really support. And what is it called?
Yes, yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So they connected to Churchill in that program. And I just think that it was such a wonderful experience growing up, being a part of that organization, of really seeing, you know, people's struggles and their background and how they overcame. And, you know, look at me now. You know, I've also done the same. And so really it's my Project Insight family that I am just deeply indebted to.
You know, somebody asked, what's the percentage of deaf individuals working in a deaf business compared to that of deaf companies? How many deaf companies are there?
Let me see. Deaf who work with the deaf, I'd say maybe 90%, just because it's much more fluid conversation. But for deaf who work in the hearing world, maybe 7 or 8%. I think it's more common that you see deaf working within the deaf world. It just really supports successful communication as opposed to working in the hearing world. You know, it's such a challenge, and I've gone through that myself. You know, I've experienced the struggles. You know, I've experienced discrimination. while ago now, but I have gone through that. I've been discriminated against by teachers who said, you know, those words, hearing impaired, that thought that, you know, my voicing was lousy. And, you know, I'll never forget those moments. That happened to me. I was studying for one of my degrees at the time. I won't forget this moment because it was very hurtful. But I had to face that challenge. I had to confront that person because I refused to let them degrade me. And so I really leaned on the resiliency of my parents, my grandparents, my family. I come from a very strong family, and especially my grandmother. My great grandmother's name is Dean, and an amazing, phenomenal woman. You know, that's my great grandmother, Dean. And then my grandmother's name was Betty. She was also just such a strong woman. And so to hear their stories and their wisdom and how they persevered through those struggles to triumph. You know, my grandmother was pregnant when she was 15. And so strong women in my family raised me. You know, their legacy is what raised me. And that is truly why I think I have that strength in me to make it through those times that I've encountered of discrimination.
What's up? Let's raise the roof for strong Black women.
Put on those crowns.
Come on, let's give it up. Let's give it up. The queens.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I understand. Oh, I know. I grew up in a house full of women. So I definitely feel you. So you're a wonderful leader. You're doing amazing things for the community. You know, you continue putting on different hats and taking on different roles and responsibilities, and that's beautiful. Yeah, so I'll definitely ensure that we maintain contact. So I'm trying to remember my other question I had for you. Oh yeah, how do you keep your energy going? You know, with mountains of obstacles. I know it's not easy. So I know you get the legacy of the strong women running through you. What are you drinking? Red Bulls? I mean, what is it? What are you doing?
That's a good one. Funny. Good question, too. Let me see. I think really my energy is derived from my grandmother, Betty, who's still alive at 82. Whew! She is a whippersnapper still in shape. And my great grandmother, Dean, who passed away at 97. Both were just, you know, such strong women. My great grandmother raised me. And I think they really keep me going. You know, I can hear my great grandmother's voice in the back of my mind saying, nope, nope, no, 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 no. And, you know, it's like she's in me in a way, you know? And so they're my guiding force. You know, they guide me through, you know, whatever I go through. My grandmother Betty's wisdom is always at the forefront of my mind. You know, I read the Bible, that keeps me going. You know, that's a major support for my family. So I am thankful to the heavens, you know, and I am just really grateful for my family and, you know, my great grandmother, my grandmother. You know, I will continue to say that, you know, because I I have their words in my mind, and whatever they say, you know, like I remember them saying, you know, don't let people drag you down. Keep fighting, keep going. And so that's something that I just reinstill in my mind over and over. I think they're the reasons why I have so much compassion for people, why I'm able to go through what I go through. My parents went through a lot of different situations, and they also really encouraged me to just persevere.
Girl, give you some praise right now. Yes.
Give it up. Yes. Amen.
So I guess that's, that's one of your role models. You named a lot of people. Actually, speaking of naming people, I think it's game time.
Oh, okay.
This is Deaf Woke. Present name those people. So, all right. So this is how it works. So to get a point, you can either name them, name their official names, or what they do, their careers.
Okay.
I'll provide a visual description, and then I'll ask you who it is, and then you answer.
I will try my best, but I don't want to embarrass myself. Let's try it.
Visual description: a picture of a biracial woman, has black, long, curly, wavy hair, linked to her shoulders, looking at the camera sincerely, has two different color eyes, one mostly brown and another one hazel green, wears a soft, warm pink lipstick on her lips and a blue jean sleeveless V ruffled blouse. Who is she?
Okay, so I know that she used to go to some of your events. I know an actor.
Yeah.
She acts. Alexandria.
Ooh, yep. Yep. Alexandria Wales.
Okay.
Alexandria is a native of New York. Received her 2020 Obie for substance excellence as an artist and advocate. She received her Lucille Lortel nomination for Outstanding Featured Actress in a Play for Colored Girls at the Public. Her career spans Broadway, off-Broadway, TV, film, as an actor, director, choreographer, and director of ASL. She works mostly in New York and LA. This woman is busy. All right, we're starting off on the right track. Got one.
Okay, one down. Oh.
A visual description: a picture of an African-American male appears with his soft black low haircut, wears a black suit jacket with a beige color folding down and a light brown striped tie, smiles at the camera with the background in a glowy purple coloring. Who is he?
He seems like he's a lawyer, but I could be wrong. A business person? I got nothing on the name. Nothing.
And Ronald Martin.
Ronald, okay.
Ronald Martin is a native of Houston, Texas. Is an American journalist. I know he looks like a lawyer or a professional writer. He's known as a commentator for TV One, hosting of News One's Now and Washington on Watch with Ronald S. Martin. He's also an author.
Okay, learning something.
Yes, that's the most paramount point of this game. All right, visual description. A picture of African-American female
That's
sitting in a
my
black leather seat
girl.
with a black silver turning at the left and glancing to the right, straight to the camera, grinning. She has a black micro braided, swept in a bun, wears a pair of hoop earrings, and black turtleneck with the off-white pants. Who is she?
Regina King. And she was in 277. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Regina King. Native of Los Angeles, California, is an American actress and director. She's known in Brendan Jenkins in the television series 277.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brenda Jenkins. Yep. Oh, I just used to watch that all the time, 277. I still do. I still watch that. You know, the old version? It's the best.
Next picture of an African-American male has a black low-cut haircut, wearing a pair of black framed eyeglasses, wears one silver stud earring on his right ear, a beige shirt with some prints of a red triangle diamonds, looking at the camera and grinning. Who is it? Who is it?
Give me a hint. Seems like he's an actor. I don't know. No idea.
Malik Paris.
Oh, I never heard of him.
Malik Paris is native of Brotherly Love in Philadelphia, is an actor and artist. Since 2010, he has been performing and a member of the ASL Poetry Performance Tourette's Dangerous Signs. Malik enjoys his experience of working in the theater, from young audience performances to fringe festival creations. With more, he is blessed to perform in the youth choir for the Philadelphia Thanksgiving Parade. Visual description.
Bow down.
In her black low-cut haircut, wearing a white V blouse, looks in the camera sincerely. Who is she?
This is Michelle Banks.
Yep, you got it. Yep. Michelle Banks, a native of Washington, D.C., is an award-winning actress, writer, director, producer, choreographer, motivational speaker, and teacher. Michelle is a former artistic director of Onyx, ONYX, theater company for over 11 years in NYC. She is amazing.
Yes, she is. Oh, I would love to meet her one day.
Oh, we tight. I can introduce you to her.
Oh, bring it on. Oh.
Visual description. A picture of an African-American male sits crossing his arms with long black locks flowing over his shoulders, wears a light teal blue opening buttons blouse, and grins at the camera. Who is it?
I think they dance act. I think, oh, what is their name? I know they're an actor.
Mervyn?
Yep, Mervyn.
O'Brien.
I should have known that. No excuse. I mean, I lived in New Orleans for 15 years. There's no excuse.
He's an amazing soul. He's been an actor, choreographer, visual comedian, teacher, artistic performer, director. I love Marvin. He's my twin. We have the same birthday.
Oh, wow. Yes.
African-American female appears in her red sweater, wearing in her honey blonde long bang on the left side with a short shaved cut on the right side, a black flat round hook earring on her right ear. She looks at the camera humbly. Who is she?
Well, only one from my favorite TLC. Don't change the water flow. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Yep, Tion.
Oh, yep. T-Boz is a member of TLC. She's won a Grammy Award for work with TLC. Also, T-Boz is an author of a semi-autobiographical poetry, thoughts, and a memoir, A Sick Life, TLC in Me. She's a very advocated person and becomes one of a spokesperson for Sickle Cell Disease Association.
Yeah, someone on my dad's side of the family a couple generations ago had sickle cell. So I am a huge advocate for sickle cell, and I know that she is as well.
Visual description: a picture of an African-American female, has brown bob cut hairstyle. She has silver eyeshadows on her eyelids, wearing soft red lipstick and smiling at the camera. Has a multi-prints of black, red, and white scarf, a pair of white pearl earrings. Who is she?
Ugh. Nothing's coming to mind. Must work for something. Something.
Yes, Pamela Lloyd. Last name, hyphenated last name is Ogoke. So Miss Pamela is a native of New York City. Yep, she works at the Executive Director of Disability Rights Center, University ADA Compliance Officer, Program Administrator of Raleigh, North Carolina. She's incredible. She loves cooking, reading, swimming, and traveling. Incredible role model.
Ooh, I'm impressed. Oh, yes.
Visual description: a picture of an African male appears in his thin black haircut, wears in a gray jacket with nice pink shirt and a black and white strip tie, swinging his arm as he smiles at the camera, looking so happy. Who is he?
Isadora.
Yes, Isadora. Isadora is a native of Austin, Texas. Is the president of the National Black Deaf Advocates. Isadora has been a champion of human rights and advocacy for access to education for deaf and hard of hearing children in developing countries.
And he also works in HR too. I think for Purple. No. Convo.
All right, people. Now, I don't want to steal too much of Dorothea's time, so I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask Dorthea anything. Go ahead and type your questions in the chat box.
Don't be shy now. I ain't gonna hurt you. Come on. Give me some energy.
Careful now. Careful.
Oh, thank you.
Would you prefer working mostly with deaf or the hearing community?
Good question, Veronica. Well, I can't pick just one, but I do think I prefer working in the hearing world. And the reason being that it's very challenging and it is very engaging, socially. I learn a lot from the people around me. And so I think that if I was to be working with the deaf community solely, I'd be kind of in a silo. And so, the deaf community is also quite smaller. And so I think that's why I, gravitate towards employment in the hearing world. One day, my dream goal is to set up a place of employment for deaf and hard of hearing individuals, you know, with hearing who can work together, where everyone can come together and, you know, just see, you know, how, you know, we operate in our culture, and deaf blind and deaf and hearing and everyone and all the colors. You know, I just think it would be such a beautiful, you know, a beautiful place. So that's down the line, a future goal. Good question.
It's a hard question to answer, to try to separate the two communities. Yeah, I like how you answered that question. Next question is what do you see where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Wow, Botes. Let me see. 5 years down the line, I'd like to get my foot in the door in HR management. You know, I'm not sure what company that will be at. Not McDonald's though. No, Antoine. But in 5 years, you know, just management at a company, maybe Google would be interesting. You know, just a larger company that I can work my way towards in the next 5 years. And well, maybe not Google. let me think more on that. But HR management is my goal. I see myself working, you know, at a company, probably in, you know, the hearing world.
Next question is, in your opinion, what makes a hearing coworker a good ally / accomplice?
Okay, well, what makes hearing coworkers good allies? Good question. I think for them,
I got you. I think what's important is just having that good relationship with people, being open-minded, being welcoming to all of communities, being open to communication, allowing somebody to get to know each other. And I mean, that's the key of becoming an ally of somebody of a different community. You know, hearing communities always want to hear and learn something new. So, for example, if somebody, you know, is talking quite rapidly, so I may use a voice takeover, or I may use a video phone. And so I'll use the video phone, but then I'll go ahead and speak for myself. So that may it helps with maybe the clarification of somebody who may speak so rapidly. And so they'll see me using these type of devices and communicating in this way, and they'll be shocked. So they're learning something new. You know, tools of communicating. And so I think that's kind of how a deaf person can really, you know, excel in the hearing world. Wow, Dorothea, you've taught us a lot. So audience, if you'd like to follow Dorothea, you can follow her at these social media. IG is at Dorthea, and Facebook is at DTOLLIVER1. And the IG is at DOROTHEAT. So that's where you can follow her, see what's going on in her life, see what else things that she's doing. She'll be there sharing. She's always teaching us something. So do you have any last thoughts you would like to share? You know, my last thought is I want to encourage the deaf and hard of hearing to not feel less than. Don't allow a seed of negative thought to filter into your soul. Don't believe that you can't do something. Don't give up. Continue. Persevere. And you'll become successful. You'll achieve it. Stay optimistic. And you can be anything. Whatever you dream of, you can. Don't allow somebody to put you down. Just remember, we all have something special. Like my grandmother always said, my great-grandmother always said, people don't realize that disabled individuals are just like anyone else. They have something special. Antoine's special. Look, he's an incredible dancer. I have a heart that's wanting to help people. That allowed me to have the jobs that I have now. We all have something special. You always have something in you. So find that, keep it, and stay on the track that you dream of. Yes, thank you for coming, Dorthea. Thank you for coming to Deaf Woke. Thank you for sharing, opening up to us. And what's next for you? Maybe more interviews with you, Antoine? Oh, okay, okay. Well, I mean, I'm thinking, becoming a motivational speaker. I want to write a book, about my life, about being an African-American woman, living in San Francisco, being a San Franciscoan. I want to continue advocating for the deaf and hard of hearing community. Something that I can never stop. I want to thank you so much. You are powerful. Well, yeah, thank you for having me. Love, love, love. See you next time. Wow. Dorthea. Did y'all see that? What an incredible advocate for the deaf community. Man. Yeah, our job is to ensure that we provide access, whether it's for the hearing or the deaf. It's all about the access for different individuals, their needs, and that's my final thought. So anybody who wants to be included into a job space, we need to give them the opportunity of communication, asking them what their communication access needs are. Those accommodations. It's for our community. We support our community, staff at every levels. It's building each other up, uplifting each other. A wonderful working environment. So we can have leaders like Dorothy, building resumes. Doesn't matter if you have a PhD, a master's, a BS. There's still people out there that don't have the capacity, whether you're hearing or deaf, to write an effective resume. Building bridges for the deaf and hearing world, mingling amongst each other. We should work together to build everything for each other. For a better what? For humanity. We all deserve to capture our dreams. For somebody who wants to work in a space but isn't provided access, so they have to lower their expectations. No, you got to follow your heart. Follow the things that you are inspired to do. And you can become a leader like Dorothy. They're there. Deaf, Black woman that's strong with the seeds of our generation. There are so many deaf leaders. They're there. You don't have to depend on the status quo. You can find the role model that you look like. You don't need to rely on an interpreter. There are deaf role models out there, deaf leaders, just like Dorothea. The goal is we work together, building accessible support to make things better. Maybe I should develop a school. Well, either way, that's my final thought. Look, just because you can hear doesn't mean you know how to listen. We need to listen to each other to make us better. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the Dorthea. Thank you to the interpreters. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to How Round, Drop Labs. And of course, thank you. Thank you for watching. There's so many leaders out there. Thank you for your support. Yo, Deaf Folk is not free. My time is free, but the interpreters cost, the functions to run this show. So if you'd like to provide a financial support, you can go here to the website, https://www.urban jazz dance company. Yo, where my likes at? Where my hearts at? Where my likes at? Where's the love? Come on, let me see the clicks. Let me see the clicking of the hearts. So thank you so much for watching. This is Antoine Hunter, PurpleFireCrow, on Deaf Woke. Peace, love, I'm out. Well.
Thank you.